What don't they vote?
Welcome to Crazy Enough to Win. I'm your host, John Grubbs. Welcome to the podcast. So today we have a topic for all you salespeople out there, or those aspiring to work in sales. And our episode is about a missing skill. A missing skill in sales. So if you are in sales, if you know someone in sales, if you have people working for you who are in sales, this is an episode you will want to share. Share it with people on your social media. Share it with people who might benefit from learning this essential missing skill. So I recently heard that if you take all of the people in the business world, that 9% of those people are in some form of sales or business development. And I think the last 2 years have been a remarkable time for people in professional sales, especially because of the technology changes that were, required due to the pandemic. And in my writing, in my teaching, I call this TQ. TQ is technology acumen. It is now a differentiator among sales professionals. Some are better at leveraging technology than others. And the days of the old school sales rep who wants to live in a completely analog world are nearly over. If you can't sell in the digital world, you are a dinosaur. You are becoming more and more extinct every single day. Because sales skills are more critical than ever as more entrepreneurs enter the business world to sell products and services. I heard that 46% of people today have some sort of side hustle, be it an Etsy or some sort of business on the side. Maybe they're selling real estate on the side. Nearly half of people have a side hustle, and many of them are selling something. So the term sales professional is becoming more diluted than ever before. And what does all this mean for you if you're a professional sales rep? Or what does this mean if you have a sales team? And how can you position your company, your team, to compete in a world full of business noise? That's the question we're going to answer today. So, sales skills are the competitive advantage for companies seeking success in a new post-pandemic business environment. That's right, sales skills. For so long, people relied on personality to sell. Well, guess what? That will not work in the future. You need skills in order to sell in today's world. When anyone can call themselves a salesperson, the term has become less meaningful than ever before. And in a field that lacks credentials for minimum competency, uninformed hiring managers who are usually not in sales get fooled to think someone with sales experience also has the requisite skills to be competent in a sales role. They believe the resume, and they assume, we know what assume does, the stated past is an indicator of future success. And it's just not the case. It's just not true. So for today's podcast, I'm going to focus on one specific skill. And this one specific skill is something I often find missing during my training to prove this point today. So we're going to dig down into just one skill of many, many skills that I teach in professional sales. As in sports, sub-skills come together and present themselves as something to be observed in action. I know that sounds complicated, but let me break it down for you. multiple subskills come together to execute a routine double play in baseball. The flip, the footwork, the arm angle, the throw, the release, the follow through. All those are subskills to make what looks like one skill look easy. Well, guess what? Sales skills are no different. Hiring managers can identify surface level skills sometimes, not very often, yet they definitely lack the depth of knowledge to discern subskills necessary for sales success. Let me say that again. Unless the hiring manager is very skilled in sales themselves, they have no way to identify the capability of a applicant for a sales position. So the one skill and subskill that we're going to talk about today is discovery. It's an essential skill for sales success, discovery. And if you don't know what discovery is in a sales context, hang on, you're going to get it at the end of this podcast. So while common in sales terms, discovery as a term is not common in the general business vernacular. And based on my experience, fewer than 10% of sales trainees have developed skills for discovery. Now, don't get me wrong, some attempt discovery intuitively, while very few perform it strategically. And a sample definition of discovery, remember, we're talking about discovery in the form of sales. It's a sales skill, is determining the problem to be solved by a potential buyer. You're trying to discover the problem to be solved by a potential buyer. Just like people don't buy drills, or they don't want drills, they buy drills because they want holes. We buy vacuum cleaners because we want a clean home. Discovery is an essential baseline skill for success in sales. Now, here's the magic that I'm getting to today. A subskill to discovery is a term called attunement. And attunement describes how reactive a person is to another's emotional needs and moods. And a well-attuned person will respond with appropriate language and behaviors based on another person's emotional state. They are really good at recognizing moods and emotions in another person and adapting their response in accordance. And here's an example. Well-attuned parents are essential in detecting what their babies are feeling or thinking and responding appropriately. So attunement is a skill, and you have to learn this skill as part of being good at discovery. Because here's the thing, when you can discern someone's emotional needs in the buying journey, you create a lot of leverage as a sales professional. You can use that. You know that they're making a buying decision because their boss is putting pressure on them, or they're making a buying decision because they want to look good in a certain situation, or they're making a buying decision because they've had problems in the past and were angered by a previous supplier. You need to discern these during discovery, and the way to do that is through the skill of attunement. Now, in contrast, let's talk about the opposite side. Unskilled sales reps feel compelled to talk about products and services. They may have learned how to pitch the sale early during the buying journey. Someone may have taught them this mistake. I call this show up and throw up on a prospect. And this approach used to be successful because product knowledge was asymmetrical. Think about this now. Asymmetrical, meaning all the product's knowledge was held by the sales rep. In the 1970s, if you wanted to learn about a particular vehicle, the only way to learn was to go to the dealership and rely on the sales rep to share the features of that automobile. The seller had most of the knowledge about the product or service. That's what asymmetrical means. The buyer primarily relied on the sales representative to learn about the product. There was no internet to research a product ahead of the decision to buy. Wow. Now today, buying has become more symmetrical than ever. In some cases, buyers can know more about one desired product than the sales representative when she sells multiple products. I was looking at buying a new boat, and I had done so much research on this boat that when I called the sales rep at the dealership, it was clear that I knew more about that boat, that model, its features than the sales rep did. Now, he sold a lot of boats, a lot of different types of boats. I had drilled down on one particular boat. Today, most buying research takes place on the internet ahead of approaching a sales professional. Some say 70 to 80% of the buying journey takes place before an individual engages with a professional rep. And in a competitive sales environment, trust becomes essential to earn a buyer's business. Trust gets acquired during the, guess what, discovery process, and leveraged by using the skill of attunement. When you are in tune with someone, when you have attunement with a potential buyer, trust is there. And get this, in his book, To Sell is Human, Daniel Pink says attunement allows you to connect and adapt to people, communities, and contexts to serve their needs. He states that mirroring, perspective taking, and shifting the power to the buyer are tools to attune yourself with potential buyers better. Each of these is a sub-skill to be learned and mastered by your sales representative. You see, this is not surface level skills. These are skills that the average hiring manager simply does not know. They have no clue these skills exist. How can they screen for these? And multi-level skill building is missing in many sales professionals today. They just don't have the skills. And they're hired based on a resume, and the hiring manager relies on a lot of hopium that they're going to be successful. And they may know enough to talk like a sales representative. However, they lack the skills to execute during encounters with sophisticated buyers. You've heard me talk about this before. I call this the sales skills gap, the SSG. The SSG is the problem with most sales teams. I asked why a sales manager does not confront a sales rep with an empty pipeline in a recent poll. And listen to this. The most popular answer, 50%, was that the sales manager did not understand how to help struggling sales representative. The SSG is pervasive in today's complex business development universe. Sales reps are struggling, and sales managers do not know how to help them become successful. And here's the solution. The solution is to go back to the basics. That's right, simplicity. Simplicity is the ultimate sophistication. And like in sports, when a player, an experienced player, is struggling, the answer is to revisit the fundamentals. When my boys were playing high school baseball, if they struggled, let's go back to the basics. If they're struggling at the plate, let's go back to the tee. Let's go back to soft toss. Let's go back to the bases. The problem is that many sales reps have never learned the basic skills of discovery or attunement. People assume they have the skills when they call themselves sales professionals. And non-sales professionals are unaware of the basic skills and cannot vet applicants or help struggling representatives. So answering and addressing the SSG, the sales skills gap, means providing basic skills like discovery and then mastering advanced sub-skills like attunement. Repetition and practice are the only way to learn new skills and successfully use them with potential buyers. In my 13-month sales training experience, you will have the same skills repeated multiple times so that you are better able to master them. And sales skills begin with awareness. We have to become aware of the skill. And then we have to learn application of the skill. And then finally, mastery of the skill. So when I take a sales rep through discovery skills training, first I make them aware of why discovery is important. And then I help them practice it. And then I have them repeat it until they are able to master the skill on their own. Provide your people with the training to attain knowledge and master new skills. Look, when they're out in the field interacting with a customer, they're going to default to training. They're going to default to what they know. And if they don't have any skills, they're going to struggle. So do both informal and structured training. It's the best way to do this. And top sales managers become coaches who help the sales representative master new and existing skills over time. Look, you're not going to master discovery in one training session, but you can learn how to do it and get better by practicing over time. And the more you practice, the more natural it would feel, and the better you will become at executing. I teach sales reps that my training is about getting you more at-bats with a potential customer. And the more chances you have, the more chances you earn, the higher the probability of you closing more deals. And I believe this with my entire being, that true sales reps, true professional salespeople are they're the elite athletes of the business world. And professional sports players do not stop practicing and learning once hired by a team. You don't make the pros and then all of a sudden you don't have to learn anymore. You don't have to practice anymore. That's absurd. Why do sales reps stop getting trained once they get hired? Professional athletes do not stop learning once they achieve professional status. Likewise, training your best sales representatives to become better skilled is a competitive advantage for your company. But here's an honest reality. Cull poor performers early. Not everyone is suited to be a sales professional. And invest in those with potential. But I say this loudly and boldly. Invest significantly in your top performers. That's right. Why do professional athletes practice? They're your top performers. Invest significantly in your top performing sales reps. Get them in a room where they can learn and master these skills together repeatedly. They can learn from each other. They are competitive and they will make each other even better. Doing this will make a good sales team into a great sales team. So if you're in sales, or if you manage people who are in sales, or if you own a company and you have salespeople, I want you to get this thought into your mind. True professional sales representatives are the elite athletes of the business world. Invest in them. Train them. Invest time in them. Invest resources in them. They are going to get you more for your business. So if you've enjoyed today's podcast, share this with people in your network. Like and subscribe so that you get notified when I drop a new episode. I am so honored to have people all over the world listening to this podcast, people on all the continents listening to this podcast, and I'm so thankful for you. You give me the most precious gift one human can give another, and that's the gift of time. And for that gift, I give every listener a gift in return. If you will go to www.johngrubbs.com, that is www.johngrubbs.com. That's my website. If you will go there, you can get a free copy of one of my books. You can download it for free. It sells for $20 on Amazon, but you can have it for free for being a listener to this podcast. A $20 book you get for free just for listening to this podcast today. www.johngrubbs.com. There's tons of free things for you at that website. You can get more training. You can see videos. You can download papers. There's a ton of free information for you on my website. And that's just a way for me to say thank you for being a listener. Thank you for gifting me with your time. This podcast is for people who are crazy enough to move against the grain. This podcast is for people who are crazy enough to go big in a world of small thinkers. Remember, the best way to kill a big dream is to share it with a small mind. This podcast is for people crazy enough to win. Until next time.